Hello, my name is Bob Johnson with Micro Focus Global Customer Care, and in this video we're going to talk about managing Mac printer drivers in an iPrint environment. The purpose of this video is to demonstrate some of the options available to the iPrint administrator when managing Mac printer drivers in an iPrint environment. This discussion applies to iPrint running on all versions of OES and all versions of the iPrint appliance. In this video, we will review the process of uploading a Mac printer driver to the iPrint driver store and associating the driver to the printer agent, and I will install a printer to a Mac workstation. I will also demonstrate a new feature available in the iPrint Appliance 2.1 and in OES2015 and OES2015 SP1 with the latest updates installed, which as of this video is the September 2016 update. Providing printer driver support for your Mac users can be as simple as uploading a PPD to the driver store and then associating that driver to your created printer agent. The PPD file is simply a text file created by the printer manufacturer to describe the set of features and capabilities available for their printers. One challenge is locating the PPD, and once the PPD has been located, uploaded to the driver store, and associated to the printer agent, there can be an issue with the installation of the iPrint printer on the Mac due to filter files referenced in the PPD that are not present on the Mac. The first step is to actually locate your PPD, and probably the best resource for finding your printer driver for your Mac operating system is the printer manufacturer's actual website. You can also go to this URL, and it is a list of printer manufacturers and supported printers kept by Apple with links to each of the printer manufacturers' websites. In this video, I'm going to assume that as an iPrint administrator, you're familiar with the process of creating a printer agent and uploading drivers to the driver store. In this first example, I'm going to upload a PPD from a driver package downloaded from Lexmark. I'm going to do this in an OES11 environment so that I can show you the difference between the driver upload process on a server that does not have the new enhanced upload feature as discussed earlier. The first thing I needed to do was go to the Lexmark website and download the printer driver for the Lexmark C762 printer. This printer driver comes in the form of a DMG file, which is a Mac OS disk image file. The DMG contains a number of files used by the Mac operating system to install the printer driver. In our case, we are interested in obtaining the PPD file. Now, there are different ways to accomplish this, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using a Windows PC and software to extract the PPD. In this case, I'm using 7-zip. So I've downloaded the DMG to a folder. I double-click. And because I've done this before, I kind of know where to navigate to get to the PPD. It takes some practice, or it can, but I'm basically just navigating my way through what I'm hoping will be the location to the PPD file. And we've arrived at the location. Typically what you'll find, and I would say 99% of the time, when you locate the PPD, it will be compressed in a .gz format. Simply double click it and it will extract it again. Notice there is no PPD extension. We have to add a PPD extension in order to be able to upload this driver to our driver store. But once I've located this file, I'll go ahead and extract it. And I'm going to extract it to my PPD folder. Once extracted, I can go to the PPD folder, and as mentioned, I need to add a .ppd extension. And once that has happened, I can now upload this to my driver store. As mentioned in this first example, I'll be uploading this driver running Internet Explorer against my OES11 server that again does not include the enhancement that I will introduce later in this video. Just as a reminder, you do need to run Internet Explorer as administrator to upload printer drivers to the driver store. We will discuss an alternative method for uploading a Mac printer driver later in this video. If you're unfamiliar with running Internet Explorer as administrator, simply right-click on the Internet Explorer icon and select the option to run as administrator. So to upload the PPD to my iPrint driver store, click on Manage Driver Store, select my driver store object, click the Drivers tab, change the platform to Mac, click Add from File, and there's my Lexmark PPD. Click Open, and the driver has been uploaded. Now I need to associate this to the printer that I have, so I click Manage Printer, select my C762 printer, click on the Drivers tab, drop down the platform for Mac, and there's my driver. Click OK. And that driver has now been associated. The next thing I want to show you is now that the driver's been uploaded and associated to the printer, we'll go to a Mac workstation and we will install this particular Lexmark printer. To install the Lexmark printer on my Mac workstation, I open a web browser, and in this case Firefox, and I browse to the IP address or DNS name of the iPrint server /IPP. And you'll see here the LMC762 printer, which we are interested in installing. I click on the link to install it. It says the printer's not installed, which is true. Do I want to install it? Click Install. And then I'm returned with this message stating, failed to install the printer. The filters specified in the PPD could not be found /resolve, which is true. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier. This particular PPD references filter files that do not exist on this Mac workstation. And so the printer installation is going to fail. What we're going to look at next is the actual PPD and the filter file that it's referencing. And then we're going to go through a process on a patched iPrint server that has a new feature that allows the administrator to avoid situations like this. If we go back to the PPD file that we uploaded to the driver store and open the file, you can use any text editor. We're looking for a section in that file called cups filter. And in this case, it's very easy to find. In some cases, you'll want to search for the phrase. But notice that it's looking for this particular filter file in the library printer's Lexmark filter directory. That file did not exist on the Mac when we tried to install the printer, which is why we got the missing filter file message. In fact, if we jump back here to the Macintosh and we go to the library printers directory, we don't have a Lexmark directory in place, which again is why the printer installation failed. So next, let's look at the new enhancement to the iPrint code that allows an administrator to upload a PPD, associate the PPD to the actual DMG file, so that when an end user goes to install the printer, not only are they accessing the PPD, but they're accessing all of the filter files that are included in the DMG package. And we'll show that next. Again, it requires the latest server software as well as the latest iPrint client for the Mac. Let's look at the process now on an iPrint appliance. This is version 2.1, which has the enhanced feature for associating a printer driver package to a PPD. Again, running Internet Explorer as administrator, I click on Manage Driver Store, select the driver store object, click Drivers, change the platform to Macintosh, and the screen looks almost the same, but notice now we have a new feature called Associated Driver Package. If we look at iManager on the unpatched OES11 server, we only have the option to upload a PPD. Whereas in this case, we can not only upload a PPD, but we can associate a DMG package to that PPD, which is what we're going to do now. So we click Add from File, select our PPD. The PPD is uploaded. Now we're going to upload a DMG file. So we click Add from File. The process is slightly different. We browse to our DMG that we downloaded from Lexmark, click Open. And here we need to provide our credentials for the appliance. These are the eDirectory credentials that you use to log in to iManager, and then click Upload. And depending on the size of the DMG, this may take a little while. In this case, went fairly quickly. The next thing we need to do is we actually need to associate this DMG package to the PPD. So we highlight it. You see that both are highlighted. We click Associate, and the association has been made. At this point, we then want to make sure we've associated the PPD that we've uploaded to the printer agent that we've created. So we click on Manage Printer, browse to the LC762 printer, which I created on the appliance, click OK. Click the Drivers tab, change the platform to Mac, and there is our Lexmark C762 driver that we uploaded. Select it, click Apply, and click OK. That driver's now been associated to the printer agent. Our next step is to go back to our Mac and install the printer from the fully patched appliance. So back on my Mac workstation, I've opened Firefox and I've gone to the IPP page for my iPrint Appliance 2.1. Again, one thing to make sure, the Mac workstation needs to be running the latest iPrint client, which in this case is the 6.04.00 version. Once you verify that you're running the latest client, then we'll go ahead and install this printer by clicking on the link. Printer's not installed. Do you want to install it? Click Install. Notice now we're seeing a message that says downloading the package, extracting the package. And this is actually going to take the user through this process of installing the driver package. So they need to click on Install Driver Package, which launches the Lexmark installer. And then they'll need to authenticate to their Mac to allow the software to be installed. Once the package is installed, you're returned to the iPrint installation and the printer is installed successfully. If we were to jump back into Finder and take a look at library printers, we now have a Lexmark folder, we have a filter folder, and we can see this particular filter file has been installed, in addition to some other software that the Lexmark printer driver package requires. In our earlier example, we showed you how to extract the PPD from a DMG file. Another option available to you as an administrator is to simply use your Mac workstation, install the DMG package from the manufacturer, and you'll notice when you do that it puts the .gz file in this PPD contents resources directory. Apple ships with a number of HP and Xerox PPD files, and your particular model may already be present. In our case, because we've installed the entire DMG package during the iPrint printer installation, we end up with the Lexmark C762.gz file in this resources directory. So as an administrator, you could do the same thing. You could download the DMG package from the manufacturer, install the entire package, and then you could come to this directory and locate the .gz file for the printer, which again, if you remember, is a compressed version of the PPD. Then what you could do is extract this file and upload it to the iPrint driver store. And then with what we understand about filter files and the software that's required in order for your end users to install the printer, you could then use some type of software management utility, and you could push out the contents of the appropriate printer driver software. And in our example, it would be this Lexmark folder. And by doing that, your end users could install the iPrint printer, and they wouldn't have to go through the process of downloading the DMG driver package and going through the manufacturer's installation process, which requires some additional steps on their part. The next topic I'd like to discuss is the ability to upload PPDs and package files on your Mac workstation using a command line option. As mentioned earlier, typically we require that you upload drivers from a Windows machine running Internet Explorer as administrator. That may or may not be an option in your environment. If you don't have access to a Windows machine, then you'll use this following option to upload a PPD and the package file. To start with, you'll need to open a terminal like you see here in this example. The next thing, I'm making an assumption that you've already downloaded the DMG file from the manufacturer, and I'm making an assumption that you've actually installed that DMG file, which will give you access to the PPD file like we saw earlier. In this example, I've installed the DMG, so I end up in Library, Printers, PPDs, Contents, Resources, my Lexmark C762.gz. Now, I need to extract this, and on the Mac, if I double click it, it'll automatically extract it and put it in my Downloads directory. Again, remember, we have to change the extension of this to a .ppd in order for the driver upload process to recognize the file. So I change the extension. Notice also in Downloads, I have the package file from Lexmark, which I downloaded from their website. So with these two files in place, I can go to my terminal and I can execute this command, iPrint space dash lowercase u space the IP address of your driver store on your iPrint server space, and then the full path to the PPD file. Notice the Mac puts in a backslash as an escape character for the space in the file name. But if you're familiar with Linux or Mac commands, as you're typing this path, you can hit the tab key and it will auto-complete the file information for you. So with that in place, I press enter, and I'm prompted for the username for IDS, for the driver store. That's simply the eDirectory admin user, so in this case it is admin, and the password for admin. And then you see it's successfully added to the IDS. I perform the same type of command to upload the DMG file, simply just changing the location and the file name, obviously. Press enter. Admin Novell. And the DMGs take a little bit longer because they are larger. And then you should see your successful status message. Now the PPD and the DMG have both been uploaded successfully to the driver store. Our next step will be to go into iManager, verify that they are there, and make the appropriate association. So back in iManager, we go back to Manage Driver Store and go to our Driver Store object. Click on the Drivers tab. Change the platform to Mac. And we now have our Lexmark C762 driver uploaded, as well as the package. And again, as demonstrated in our earlier example, to associate this package to this particular PPD, we highlight the package, make sure the driver is highlighted, and we click Associate. Now that the driver package has been associated to the PPD, the next step is to associate this driver to our printer. While we're in this screen, if you had associated a driver package to a driver and you wanted to break that association, or you made a mistake and associated the wrong driver package, you can simply click on None and click on Associate, and that'll break the association. We'll go ahead and set it back. Click Associate. At this point we click OK. Manage Printer. Find our Lexmark 762 printer. Click Drivers. Change the platform to Mac. And there is our driver. We can just click Apply. And again, with this solution, with the driver package associated to a PPD, the experience for the end user will be like we saw in our earlier example, where they will download the driver package and go through the manufacturer's printer driver installation, giving them the required filter files. Another issue I'd like to address is the situation in which there is no DMG file available to download for your particular printer. We've seen printer manufacturers provide other options for installing printer drivers on the Mac workstation where there is no DMG file available. And remember, we rely on the DMG file so that we can extract the PPD, and then we can upload that PPD to our driver store. In this particular situation, you'll need to install the printer driver on a Mac workstation using the manufacturer's utility. And once that installation process takes place, you should be able to locate the specific .gz file for the driver. And again, that's located in the Library Printers PPD's Contents Resources folder. And then follow the instructions for uploading the driver from the Mac using the command line option as we demonstrated earlier in the video. And then using some type of software distribution program like ZenWorks, you'd want to push out the filter files to each of the workstations prior to having them install the iPrint printer on their workstation. An example of this is that in my iPrint environment, I want to deploy the HP Color LaserJet Pro MFP M277. So I go out to the HP website and go to the driver software download page, and I expect to be able to download a DMG file so that I can go through the process of extracting the PPD and associate the driver package as we demonstrated earlier. But in this case, when I go out to the website, what I see available is something called HP Easy Start. And for the purposes of this video, I won't go through the process. But what this utility does is it automatically detects the printer on my network, and it takes care of downloading and installing the appropriate software so that my Mac workstation can print. And in this situation, then what I will need to do is, once the software has finished installing, like we did in our earlier example, I'll go to my library directory, I'll go to printers, I'll go to PPDs, contents, resources, and I'll see that the MFP M277.gz has been installed. So with that file, I can then extract the PPD like we did earlier, and I can upload that to the driver store. And then using a software management utility like ZenWorks, I can push out this HP folder to my Mac workstations, and that will give them the necessary filter files needed to be able to install this PPD. And in this scenario, I won't be using the new enhanced feature that allows me to associate a driver package to the PPD, as the filter files will already exist on the Mac workstation, assuming that I push them out, again using some type of software management utility. This concludes our video on managing Mac printer drivers in an iPrint environment. Hopefully you found this information informative and useful, and hopefully it'll help you deploy iPrint printers in a Mac environment. Thank you for watching.